You had a really nice long weekend and that you are refreshed and back to e-learning here. So last week we did a brief introduction to expository paragraphs, looking more specifically at informative paragraphs. And this week we find ourselves examining compare and contrast paragraphs. So because we didn't have my lecture portion on Monday, being a holiday, I just thought I would do a really quick run through of an example here before you launch into looking at some other examples, some compare and contrast paragraphs today. So here's an example talking about fresh fruits, vegetables, healthy eating versus processed food items. So there are many advantages to purchasing fresh fruit and vegetables as alternatives to popular processed food items at your local grocery store. While potato chips and donuts are tasty and frozen food is convenient, a habit of eating food prepared in a factory leads to overall poor nutrition and can cause bad health. These ill effects result in increased visits to the dentist or the family physician. A bag of apples might cost more than a bag of Cheetos, but saving in health costs far outweigh the immediate savings at the cash register. Besides, pound for pound, fresh food often turns out to be cheaper than packaged food. Many people forget that when they buy something that is packaged or frozen, they are also buying the packaging, which lures shoppers into buying the product. Commercials on television successfully convince consumers that the decisions to buy packaged food is logical, but facts about nutrition and value prove otherwise. So let's break this down. And in breaking it down, we're going to take a look at some of the other resources that we can use to write a compare and contrast paragraph of our own. So a lot of times starting a compare and contrast of any kind, it's good to start off with a Venn diagram. So this is just a document that helps us compare two different things. So in the case of the paragraph that we just wrote, here we would be looking at fresh foods, so our fresh vegetables and our fresh fruit. And here we would be looking at processed foods. So in a brainstorm, here we would just be able to put in, some things that are exclusively characteristic to fresh foods, some that are exclusively characteristic to processed foods, and some that are shared, right? This is specifically helpful when you're doing something like a compare and contrast of two different characters in a novel. So for example, you are comparing Harry Potter to Ron Weasley. You would have Harry, Ron, listing out character traits, and then the character traits that each of them share, right? So, maybe bravery is one that they both share, but naivety is something that only Ron shares. So that would be on this side. So Venn diagrams are always a good way to start off with your brainstorming. I'm going to let you have access to this editable Venn diagram document throughout the rest of this week as you are working on writing your own compare and contrast paragraphs on Wednesday. Also, another good resource here is a compare and contrast paragraph outline. So starting off with a topic sentence, as we do in all writing, all paragraphs, essays, even when we get to that point, starts with a topic sentence. What are the two topics that are going to be compared? Then followed by a brainstorm on topic one. So in an example of our paragraph, processed foods, 3 points about processed foods. Healthy foods, 3 points about healthy foods, or fresh foods, sorry. And then a conclusion. And so again, I'll make this document accessible for yourselves when it comes to you doing your own practice writing on Wednesday. Now, if we come back to our example today, let's do the same that we did with our informative paragraph and go through and do a little bit of highlighting to help us to see where things are coming in here. So there are many advantages to purchasing fresh fruit and vegetables as alternative to popular processed food items at your local grocery store. So that right there is our topic sentence. We know we are talking about fresh fruit and vegetables versus processed food items. So they've introduced the two topics right off of the bat. So Now we're going to talk about one of the topics, potato chips and donuts. So we know that these are talking about our processed foods. So potato chips and donuts are tasty, and frozen food is convenient. A habit of eating healthy food prepared in factories, a habit of eating food prepared in factories leads to overall poor nutrition and can cause bad health. That's 1 point, right? These ill effects result in increased visits to the dentist or the family physician. A second point. Now, here I'm not convinced that they have a third point in this example, but that's okay. A bag of apples, so now we're switching to a healthy view, might cost more than a bag of Cheetos, but savings and health costs far outweigh the immediate savings at a cash register. Okay, so topic 2.1. Besides pound for pound, fresh food often turns out to be cheaper than packaged food. A second point. And finally, let's go with many people forget that when they buy something that is packaged or frozen, they are also buying the packaging, which lures shoppers into buying the product. So they're making 3 points here. Blue, purple, blue. And then last but not least, our conclusion, commercials on television successfully convince consumers that the decision to buy packaged food is logical, but facts about nutrition and value prove otherwise. This is our conclusion that brings and joins together our 2 points in which we are comparing and contrasting. Nutritional, fresh fruit versus packaged fruit. I hope that gives you a little brief introduction into compare and contrast paragraphs. Now take a look under our Tuesday tab, and you will see some more examples for you to explore to see of good writing. Talk in the next couple of days. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.